Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After you run you through the news you need to know about, we run you through the Q&A where we answer Dolphins fans' questions. So let's get into the news you need to know about. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dolphins, after a 7-game losing streak, we all know this, have won 7 games in a row and now hold a 7th seed in the NFL AFC playoffs, which is insane. Everybody knows I listen to this podcast, but just wanted to bring it up one more time because it does sound so good. So let's get to this first news story. This is updating you on the Dolphins draft order. The Dolphins currently hold the 19th pick in the NFL draft, and I wanted to talk about this for just a little bit, just a little quick second here, because it's not that interesting a news, but I really hope that this is this, because you can get really good skill position players obviously in the second round or late in the first. So the Dolphins are well positioned to fill a huge need. They need another weapon on the offensive side of the football. I hope they address the offensive line in free agency, but they have positioned themselves to get a pretty good skill position player in the draft. Now, one thing I will say, though, is I feel like the way the NFL is going, and especially if you have a good young quarterback, I think there is definitely a premium on skill positions. If you look at the last few drafts, but I don't think it'll affect the Dolphins' position too much not to get a pretty good player there. So let's get into the next news story. I think that's it, honestly, for the news. I don't think there's no more news on Damon Arnett. I'm interested to see what he does as a Dolphin. We talked about that last week. There's really no new news on anything other than what we just talked about. So let's get into the other news you need to know about, and you already know this because you watched it on Monday Night Football. But the Dolphins defeated the New Orleans Saints 20-3 in a great game, Monday Night Football. I think the last Monday night game we played was against the Panthers. If you can correct me if I'm wrong. That was the Jay Cutler year. So there's a lot of interesting things in this game, and it brings up a lot of interesting topics. So I want to start with the offensive side of the football, because that's where a lot of the issues lie with this football team. And I want to start with Tua really quick. So Tua finished the day 19 of 26 for 198 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. I liked how he played in this game. He made it enough. He always makes, all of these wins, he has signature plays in this game that help us win the game. Obviously, that 3rd and long to Matt Collins was huge. He had his worst play of the year. The interception he threw to where he was targeting Matt Collins and ended up throwing it to Marshawn Lattimore. To me, that was the worst play of the year for him, because obviously, as they replayed about 50,000 times in that Monday night game, he had Jalen Waddle coming in on a deep end, and it would have been a pretty big play. And those are hard to find in this offense, especially when you get Jalen Waddle in that kind of a situation, which he rarely does get in because he's usually double-teamed or he's on the team's best defender. So it was a huge missed opportunity, and to me, that was the worst play of his year so far. So honestly, it was a pretty good game by Tua for what it was. I knew that we were going to struggle against that defensive line. We didn't get a lot of time. We had another game where it was kind of tough to get off man coverage, and that's been a theme for the year. I mean, Mike Gesicki had 1 catch in this game. He actually had 3 receptions, for 22 yards. His longest was a 13-yard catch. Matt Collins obviously had the 1 reception for 40 yards, and then the rest of the offense is literally just either hand it up the middle to one of our running backs or throw it to Jalen Waddle, and that's exactly what happened in this game. And that's a huge problem for this team, and it's a huge problem for this offense. And that's really what I wanted to talk about. Tua, yes, it was not the greatest game in the world. To me, that was the worst interception he's thrown all year. I still think he had a few really nice plays in this game. But he needs more help, and that becomes more clear and clear. And I don't want to, I don't even want to call it making excuses. It just is what it is. This team just doesn't have enough weapons. And it's clear every time we play a better defense or even a half-decent defense, it's just hard for our other players to get open. Mike Gesicki, God bless him, he is not very good at separating in man coverage. He just isn't. There is no other way to put it. He just cannot really separate on a consistent basis in man coverage. Devontae Parker, again, he makes some plays sometimes, but he literally didn't catch a ball in this game. And he played pretty much the entire game. So they need another weapon, and that is the biggest weakness of this team, is the offensive line and the skill positions. They just don't have enough there. The only really high-level talent they have is Jalen Waddle. Duke Johnson had a few nice runs in this game. He had 13 rushes for 39 yards. I'm very excited for him to get more involved in the passing game because he can really help out the short passing game. And I'm excited to see maybe when he gets up to speed a little bit more on the offense, we can see a little bit of that. But for right now, Myles Gaskin is still kind of in charge of those duties. We saw a little bit of Tommy Lee Lewis in this game. He caught a sweep. He was kind of filling the Jakeem Grant role. So it'll be interesting to see how the Dolphins use him in the future. But other than that, yeah, it becomes more clear and more clear as we watch this team down for the rest of the year. It's just like there's just not enough there. And people bring up, why does Tua struggle against man coverage? They just do not, we just don't have enough weapons to consistently beat it. And when teams play zone, Tua can make more plays because you can break zone with schemes. Not necessarily, you don't have to have great talent on the offensive side of the ball. You can still move the ball as long as you have good play calling against zone coverage. And, it just sucks because I wish we had a little bit more on that side of the ball, but the Dolphins have this offseason to really figure it out. Obviously, they tried to figure it out with Will Fuller, and that didn't work out. Albert Wilson hasn't played well this year. They were hoping he could come back a little bit more healthy. That didn't work out. So it is what it is. Preston Williams, we thought maybe he could develop into something. That didn't work out. Devontae Parker continues to be Devontae Parker, and he's having one of his worst years as a Dolphin. For him not to even have a reception in this game is bananas. It's just unacceptable, and we just have to do more at that position. So let's go to the defensive side of the football. What else? I think the biggest thing is Zach Sealer, and what a steal he was from the Baltimore Ravens. He is a fantastic. Ever since he got here, he's been fantastic. I don't know what the Ravens were looking at. Because even his first year here, he was really good. So we just got really lucky on that one. And he had another fantastic game. Van Ginkel continues to have a fantastic year when he's rushing the passer. He's really good. He is tied for first in the NFL with quarterback hits. He's tied with people like Nick Bosa. I think they have 16, which is pretty awesome. Not to mention the fact the Dolphins did a great job of adding new talent to the secondary with Brandon Jones, obviously, in his second year. Then you have Javon Holland, who's been a fantastic rookie player. So the defense is special. And I think the only thing they really have to do in the offseason is to keep it together. Because Emmanuel Ogbah, obviously, is a free agent, and he's such a big piece to the defense because he's an all-around defensive end. He can set the edge in the run. He's really good against the run. And obviously, he's a very good pass rusher. So he really fits well, and he can play inside and out, which is huge in a multiple defense like this. Sorry, guys, I have a stuffy nose. The only thing I can really say, which is a huge thing that they need to do, is keep the defense together. I think is the most important thing in the offseason. And then they need to find like a tweener linebacker. They need to replace the Kyle Van Noy role. They have had Jerome Baker do it the last few weeks, and he's been fantastic at it. And maybe that's his role from now on, which is fine. And they need to find another middle linebacker. Duke Riley's played well, but they could probably upgrade that position. So whether they want to get another middle linebacker or they want to move Baker back to middle linebacker, get another tweener linebacker, that's really the only thing on defense that I think that they could add. Everything else is phenomenal, and they've done a great job of really positioning themselves in a great place for that third cornerback spot. Obviously, Nick Needham's a free agent. They need to keep him. So there's a couple players they need to keep together, but they've done a great job of positioning themselves at that slot cornerback position with Damon Arnett, who's obviously, I think, in his early 20s still, obviously. I think he's going into his third season. Who he could maybe become that guy, we'll have to see. So there's a lot of really good players on the defense side of the ball, and I'm excited to see where it goes for sure. But they need to keep them together. I hope they bring back Landon as well. I really like Landon Roberts. He's just an old school linebacker, and he's not that bad in coverage at all. He's actually pretty good in coverage. He had a pick 6 earlier in the season. He's an underrated coverage linebacker too. All you have to do if you want to see him in coverage and do really well, watch him against the Niners last year and then watch him against the Ravens this year. Those were both great examples of him being good in coverage. So hopefully they bring him back as well. And to wrap things up about this game, not only I want to talk about the coaching. We know Josh Boyer is special. We know Brian Flores is special. But George Godsey, I think, has done a really good job, and he's earned a right to come back next year. And hopefully he has better talent to work with on the offensive side of the ball. But I really like, even just the creativity of putting Jalen Waddle in the backfield. And, he's been really creative in 2-point conversions and red zone plays this year. So I'm very excited to see what he can do in the future. And thank God we finally found an offensive coordinator, because obviously that was a huge problem for us to have consistency at that position. We went through Chad, then we went through Gailey, and now we have Godsey, and I think he's done good enough to definitely bring him back next year. I don't want to sneeze and get snot all on the mic right now. Guys, definitely do not want to hear that, so it's kind of tough. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, I don't want to lose my breath either. It's like I'm running a marathon. That's pretty much it for the news. We talked about the Dolphins Saints game, everything that again, one thing I want to say again is just what a fantastic draft this was. Just a fantastic draft. Not only that, I forgot to mention the fact that one more stat that I should bring up is the Dolphins are first in the NFL in sacks right now, which, if you guys remember, before the winning streak, we were really low in sacks, and we're pretty much top 10 in every defensive category now. So it's just, you can't say enough about what Brian has done, and people keep, and this is another thing before we get into the fan Q&A that I want to bring up really quickly. Is people keep bringing up the strength of schedule. It's winning 7 games in the NFL is extremely hard to do. Extremely hard to do. We know that as Dolphins fans. We've played people we should beat, and we didn't beat. We've done it this year. So that doesn't really mean anything to me. And it is annoying when people keep bringing it up. People do not bring this up when the Packers beat a bad team, or any of the popular franchises in the league beat a bad team. They never bring that up. But with us, there has to be excuses for why we've done it and stuff like that. So I'm just sick and tired of hearing it. I was definitely sick and tired of hearing how many people the Saints lost last week, or in this past game. That was annoying. So the national media just kind of gets under your skin. But yeah, that's pretty much, we talked about the sacks, we talked about the defense being fantastic. We talked about the shortcomings of the offense. I want to start taking notes in these games to sound I hope, because I'm trying to sound a little bit more organized, and I know that's a problem that you guys have had, and I think that would help, and to kind of write out the show, I think it's going to help a lot. So next week I'm definitely going to do that, for sure. So yeah, let's get into the fan Q&A. This is gonna be another quick. There's not a lot of news to talk about. But man, I can't. But again, especially as a Dolphins fan, do you know how depressing? And this is just before we get into the fan Q&A. One more thing I want to bring up: just the amount of just like sadness I felt like. Just was like we had so much promise going into the year, and it was like, man, like it's like always seems like we just can't capture it, and it's just so nice that we're in contention again. It's definitely, it just feels good. It feels good. Because this is the potential that I saw in this team, and it's nice to see that they're finally realizing it. I didn't think Javon Holland would have been as good as he is, and that's a nice surprise this year, especially with Jalen Phillips, Waddle, and Holland being as good as they are, has been a huge surprise, and it's a relief for sure. The fact that Jalen Waddle tied Jerry Rice's reception record on Monday Night Football, the fact that he's going to break the all-time reception rookie record is amazing. And then obviously Jalen Phillips already broke the Dolphins rookie sack record, which is awesome. I think Joey Porter holds the most sacks in a Dolphins year, if I'm not mistaken, with 18. I could be wrong about that. It might belong to Jason Taylor, but I'm pretty sure to Joey Porter. Who knows? Jalen Phillips might end up breaking that as well. And then obviously Javon Holland, who is a fantastic player. And Brandon Jones, too. That backfield is phenomenal. But I don't think anybody saw those three being as good as they have been. Yeah. Our front seven is mean. I think we had 8 sacks last. I mean, there's so many good pass rushers on this team, and you add that with the confusion and the ability to blitz in creative ways. It's just a special unit. And I mean, it just makes it just, as much as it sucks to see our offense play sometimes, our defense is really fun to watch. So let's get into the fan Q&A. This first question comes from TR3MC. He says, "Hey Skaggs, just wanted to tell you, thank you for doing your channel for all of us Dolphins fans for so long. And just like the Dolphins starting 1-7, you have not lost faith and kept moving forward. It says a lot about you as well as the Dolphins for not quitting. Keep up the good work. Fins up." I really appreciate that. TR3MC has been a long-time fan here, a long-time supporter, a long-time person who's been in the fan Q&A pretty much every single week. And I definitely thank you for that, and thank you for the kind words as well. And yeah, it's been amazing. It really has, to see the team turn around like they have. This next question comes from KC Fanatic. He says, "Skaggs, what do you know about quarterbacks having proper rest? I went bowling for 2 hours and my arm was sore for a week. Throwing a football for 4 quarters and all week in practice could contribute to dead arm. I went 100% fresh too. I also heard some NFL players drink pickle juice for energy. Do you have any insight on players resting?" I mean, when you look at, I've heard about this before, like you have, especially with quarterbacks. Some quarterbacks don't have that problem. And some quarterbacks actually think the more you throw, the better you are off. Like, I think Tom Brady said that one time where he was like, "I throw all the time." And he never really rests his arm. Some quarterbacks is different, like you're saying, that they have to kind of rest their arm. Or they will get, like you said, dead arm. Or they're sore, or they're just not 100% there. So I think it just kind of depends on the person. When you look at some of the other quarterbacks in the league, I don't think Tua has that. And one thing I want to also bring up about Tua, as my voice gets really high right there, does anybody else think he's gotten taller, or is it just me? I don't know, man. Because his rookie year, he seemed small, and then this year I'm like, he looks fine. Like he looks bigger. I know he put on a lot of weight this year, a lot of muscle. But he really does look tall. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm crazy. But he just looks bigger in the pocket. This next question comes from JagPack18. He says, "Mike Gesicki might be the most awkward athletic freak I've ever seen. He makes ridiculous one-handed catches and insane vertical catches, but every time he makes a catch, he doesn't outrun anyone, and every time he tries to hurdle, it never works. He's also the softest tight end in the National Football League. God bless him. I love Mike Gesicki. I'm not trying to hate on Mike Gesicki, but I'm just telling you guys the truth and what I see every time we play in the NFL. He cannot separate on a consistent basis against man coverage. He just can't. He's not a good route runner because he is a long strider. That's always been a problem of his. And he's not good after the catch. It was funny. I think one of the commentators last night said, he's a great tight end after the catch. I almost threw up. Because I'm like, that's another great, it's just ignorance. These people don't even know what they're talking about. Mike Gesicki is not good after the catch at all. He's awful after the catch. And, you kind of need that in your tight end. And again, I don't want to hate on Mike because he does make great contested catches. But again, that's another problem with this offense. There's too many of those guys. Devontae Parker is the same way. Only thing that this man can do is occasionally catch a slant. And then I guess he'll catch your 50-50 ball every once in a while. And then he'll disappear an entire game. So it's just another example of the Dolphins need better players at those positions. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Mike Gesicki. Because Mike, he put up decent numbers this year. He has 600 yards receiving. But when you look at the games he plays, it's like, okay, but is he an upper echelon tight end? No. He doesn't block in the run game. He's not good after the catch. He's not a physical player. He can't separate in one-on-one coverage all that often. I don't understand. Like, it's kind of interesting to see how they view him and how they value him. Because, honestly, it's just... I think if they surround Mike with a better receiving talent, then when teams kind of have to start to back off and they don't play as aggressive, he'll have a career year. But as long as teams are up in our face and loading the box and playing man coverage and blitzing us all the time, Mike Gesicki's just not well suited for that. Anyway, the point is, I'm interested to see how they view him and value him for the future, because Jack Pack makes a point. He is an awkward tight end. Like he's just an odd duck. I've never really seen a tight end have this much success and play like he does without being physical, without being really good after the catch, and without being able to separate off man coverage on a consistent basis. I can literally count the play. I mean, he separated on an out route against the Jets. That's pretty much. I can't really think of anything else. I mean, he does. He runs that little RPO kind of skinny post well, and he uses his body to kind of shoulder off people, but that's not really separating. So it's just a problem that this team has, and hopefully they can get better. And especially if they run this quick passing game, they need people who can create space. And they really only have one guy who can do that, and that's Jalen Waddle. This next question comes from Ethan. He says, if Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Deshaun Watson are all interested in going to Miami this offseason, what is your move? Stay with Tua? Which all three of these guys are you going with if you want to go with them? So would I stay with Tua or go with Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson? The thing that intrigues me the most about this list, and I know people are going to freak out when I say this, but Aaron Rodgers is the most interesting one because he is like Tom Brady where his game translates forever. Like he's never really going to lose it. And Devontae Adams is a free agent, and he's already said he's going to go where Aaron Rodgers is going to go. So to get Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams as a package deal with Jalen Waddle already here, all we would really have to do is fix the offensive line, and the Dolphins are number one in cap space, okay? So that's a really interesting opportunity. You couple that with the defense, that's a Super Bowl. So I would definitely go for the Super Bowl. If I was the Dolphins, I would get Aaron Rodgers, especially if I get Devontae Adams as a package deal. I think that's probably what I would do. But I'm not again. I mean, it's hard to say no to Aaron Rodgers. That's probably why. I mean, Tua is. I think that's a tough decision, dude. But I think that's what I would do. Again, I think Tua is still gonna have. And the thing that would suck about that is if Tua went somewhere else, and because he is so young, and someone gets him for the next 15 years, and he's like, well. Maybe we could have stuck with him a little bit longer, but I think you could get Aaron Rodgers for at least 4 or 5 more years, especially if he plays as long as Tom Brady, and especially if he goes on a run here in Miami because the defense is young. So that scenario is really interesting. The Aaron Rodgers scenario, I think, is the most interesting. This next question comes from Jack Pack. He says, I don't want to sound like a negative Nancy because I'm really impressed with how the coaches have turned this season around and kept this team from quitting. But the offensive coordinators are just plain stupid. Stop putting in Jacoby on 3rd and short or 4th and short. In fact, just fire Jacoby. Another thing that bothers me is starting Lindsey over Duke. Duke had a great game last week, deserved more touches. I get the Saints are better than the Jets, but they were missing a lot of people on defense. They weren't really missing anybody on the defensive front. They had Davenport, they had Cameron Jordan. They still had their interior pretty much intact. I mean, their defensive front is really good. And those two alone can wreck a game, especially in the run with Campbell and Davenport. So they weren't that... Their defense was pretty much all there. They had C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They had Marshawn Lattimore. They had P.J. Williams. I mean, their defense was literally... I mean, it was there. Everybody's going to miss someone on the defensive offensive side of the football. I mean, we did last week. We didn't have one of our best players in Javon Holland. Sorry, guys. I'm literally squeezing my nose as I talk. I apologize. But I do agree with Jack Pack a little bit. Like, Duke Johnson definitely... Not a little bit. I do agree with you, Jack Pack. Duke Johnson for sure should get more touches and play more. And the whole Jacoby thing, and I disagree with you on the offensive coaches. I think the offensive coaches did a great job of giving the Saints something new. They didn't just go in there and like, all right, we're going to run RPO. Like, they definitely gave them new looks, new formation. Not really necessarily new form. not in new formations, but new personnel in those formations, with lining up Jalen Waddle in the backfield, just adding a little bit of a wrinkle to the offenses. That shows me that they don't just stay pat, that they do game plan, which is important because there's a lot of coaching staffs that don't do that. So there's a lot of coaching staffs that rely on talent and run the same thing every week. And, you can't do that with this offense. You have to be creative. You have to come up with new stuff every week. So I thought that was really cool that they did that. And, they're going against one of the better defense coordinators in the league in Dennis Allen. And you have to do stuff like that to give them new looks and stuff that they haven't seen before. So I like what George Godsey is doing. But I do agree with you on Duke Johnson. And I'm very excited to see him get involved in the offense in terms of the receiving game, because I think he can help a lot there. This next question comes from Mark. He says, how far can we go with the defense carrying the offense? I mean, I think more defenses, I guess it's kind of equal. There's been a lot of defenses that have carried bad offenses to the playoffs. There's been a lot of great offenses that have carried bad defenses to the playoffs as well. So it definitely can be done, and the defense is good enough to do that for sure. This next question comes from the Dukester. He says, what are we going to do about our offensive line skags? They are trash. Are there any good free agents available next year we can sign for an instant upgrade, or are we going to continue to take chances with draft picks? No, I think at this point we're done with draft picks. And if that has to be a mandate from the owner himself, then let it be known, because they really do have to fix it. There's a lot of good offensive linemen in free agency. It's a really good free agent class. It's a fantastic free agent class. There's a lot of really good players in this free agent class. One of the guys that comes to mind right now, Orlando Brown, who is a good player and could definitely help, especially in the run game. So that may be something that they look into. There's a few others that I'm forgetting right now. Actually, let me look this up really quickly here. But when you think about there's a lot of good receivers in this free agent class. There's a lot of really good safeties, which the Dolphins don't need. But so yeah, it's a nice year to have. What I'm losing my train of thought. It's a nice year to have a lot of cap space, which the Dolphins do have. So here are some of the free agent offensive linemen. Marcus Cannon, who's fantastic. He's a pretty good player. Alex Mack, he's a little too old. Obviously, Orlando Brown. Okay, this list is not. Hold on. Brandon Sheriff, who's a fantastic guard. He would be great. Cam Robinson's he's good, but he's injury riddled. That might not be somewhere the Dolphins want to go. Andrew Norwell, who's a fantastic guard. He would be a great addition. Obviously, Teron Armstead from New Orleans would be a fantastic addition. Jason Kelsey from Philly. I don't see him leaving Philly, though. I really don't. So there's a lot of really good linemen. Glowinski. I don't know why I went with all the other ones before I got there. The really good guard from Indianapolis. He's really good. Brandon Shell, who's not a bad player. Morgan Moses, who played for the Jets this year. He still looks good, but he's obviously he also has a lot of injuries. Ted Karras, who's had a fantastic year in New England. Maybe they want to bring him back and put him at guard. That's what he's played in New England. Kyle Long, if he wants to continue to play football, he's a good player. Quentin Spain, really good guard from Cincinnati. So there's a lot of really good offensive linemen. I'm trying to see if there's any more. Obviously, Orlando Brown, who I just mentioned. Honestly, the guys that I see that are huge, that would be big time helps to this offense would be Brandon Sheriff for sure, Teron Armstead for sure, Andrew Norwell. I think those are the three. Andrew Norwell, Sheriff, and Teron Armstead. Trent Brown would be an interesting addition as well. He would be a nice one. Ben Jones from Tennessee. Maybe they move him to guard. So there's a lot of really good offensive linemen. It's gonna be interesting to see what the Dolphins do. There's a lot of interesting ones like Cam Robinson, who's a good player but has dealt with injuries. So yeah, there's a lot of, to answer your question, whose question was that? To to answer your question, the Duckster. Yeah, so there's a lot of really good offensive linemen that the Dolphins could get in free agency, which is what I hope they do. And just because this is a podcast, let's look at the receivers, because that's something else the Dolphins need. We'll just look at that really quick, and then we'll get to the rest of the questions, and then we'll end the show. Wide receivers 2022. All right, here we go. Here are your free agent wide receivers in case the Dolphins want to go this route. Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams, Juju Smith-Schuster, Keelan Cole, who is not terrible, but he's not something the Dolphins would even look at. Mike Williams, Antonio Brown, there's not a chance. Matthew Slater would be interesting on special teams. See if there's anyone else here. Odell, maybe? Question mark? Mike Thomas, not the Michael Thomas that I thought. That's the one from Cincinnati. No, Dolphins fans definitely do not want to go that route. Yeah, there's not a lot of Equanimeous St. Brown, who's a good deep threat. Alan Lazard. There's a lot of Packer receivers that are free agents. Good Lord. Whoever's going to get Aaron Rodgers next year is definitely going to be able to just kind of run it back with his receivers. Ooh, there's a really good name. Jacoby Myers, man. If we could steal him from New England, that'd be awesome. I really like Jacoby. And that's it. That's kind of crazy. There's not that many free agent receivers. Yeah, so I would say the guys that I if the Dolphins were to go this route, definitely Chris Godwin would be fantastic. Allen Robinson, I think, is the most likely one. Juju Smith-Schuster would be great in the quick pass game. The Dolphins definitely need someone who can take the top off the defense. Well, I guess they have Jalen Waddle. You know what? I'm actually kind of... I would rather get someone who's really... Like, I think Jacoby Myers and Juju Smith-Schuster, Chris Godwin, those are my three, like, favorites there. Jameson Crowder would be great for the quick pass game, too. Rescue him from the Jets. I think he would help out that a lot as well. And then, yeah, there's obviously the crazy option where the Dolphins could possibly get A-Rod and Devontae Adams, which would be an insane. And then if you think about it, I mean, dang, they could pick up Allen Lazard and Equanimeous St. Brown if they wanted to. But yeah, so there's not that many receivers. There's like three here that I could see, because you don't want to go. I mean, there's a lot of like Antonio Brown, no. AJ Green, no, he's too old. But Jacoby Myers would be my sneaky best one. I mean, I really like Jacoby Myers. He's a really good player. So yeah, there's your free agent receivers too. So they could make a little something, do a little something there. So let's get on to the rest of the questions. This next question comes from Mike. He says, "Do you think Waddle will get Offensive Rookie of the Year? And did anyone ever tell you that you have a very soothing voice?" No, I definitely don't think that's true. Trust me, nobody's ever said that to me in my life. Said quite the opposite. What was the question, Mike? Do you think Waddle will get Offensive Rookie of the Year? No. Probably Jamar Chase. Probably. Or Mac Jones, because people just want to be all up on him. This next question comes from Richard. He says, Zach, and Mike, I know you like to play jokes, so I know that was a real compliment. I'm watching you, Mike. I just want you to know that. This next question comes from Richard. He says, Zach Sealer had a great game against the Saints, was terrorizing Alvin Kamara in the backfield. He had a sack. He reminds me of Dolphins great Doug Betters, defensive end from the Killer Bees. Yeah, Zach Sealer's great. Him and Christian Wilkins are both fantastic. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, Zach Sealer's fantastic, dude. I'm glad he played like 70% of the snaps last week. He needs to play more, and he's finally getting the opportunity to do this year. This last question comes from Richard again. He says, what free agent wide receiver do the Dolphins sign in the offseason? Devontae Adams of the Packers, Cardinals receiver Christian Kirk. That's another really good one. That I don't know why that was on the list. And what the Dolphins signing Jameis Winston up for the backup to Tua? No, I don't think they need that. Yeah, Christian Kirk would be another great one. Another guy who had a lot of speed could bring what Will Fuller should have brought to the team, and he can stay healthy. And he's a good slot receiver as well. He's a good route runner. You could run him with speed sweeps. Could do a lot of things with Christian Kirk. So yeah, he would be another great one. Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna get Devontae Adams. I think Aaron Rodgers is a package deal with him, whether he stays in Green Bay or leaves it. So yeah, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the show. That is the show. Went a lot longer than I thought it would because we were running out of topics. We found some later in the show. Had a lot of fun talking about this. See, this is why we need guests on the show. Because we could I guess argue or something like that. People like that. People like Undisputed. You sit there, you scream at people, then you leave, and then you feel bad. I don't know. Obviously. Yeah, I think that's it. We did not talk about John Madden. Rest in peace to an NFL legend. One of the obviously bigger than life characters in the NFL. Got a lot of people into football. I think that's the greatest thing he ever did. Was a lot of people got into football because of him. Probably more than anybody else. And it's probably not even close, to be honest with you. I think it goes your family, John Madden, and then maybe your friends third. Those are the people that get you into football. So very influential. Clearly, I'm just saying things that everybody else has already said. So it sucks. Obviously, led one of the most iconic teams in the history of sports with those '70s Raiders teams. Those teams were amazing. I mean, if you guys have ever seen the America's Game on the radio, you guys have to watch it. It's a great episode of any kind of show ever. It's so entertaining to hear those guys kind of talk you through their year and how they won the Super Bowl, and just so many crazy personalities on that team. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.